how to pass your ACCA PM examination, and in this video, going through those key topic areas you must know ahead of your examination. Well, I'm delighted to be joined by top tutor Richard, who's going to walk and talk us through, so pen and paper at the ready. But without stealing his thunder, Richard, feel free to introduce yourself, my friend.
Thanks, James. Yeah, hi everyone. The PM exam. Well, if you haven't done it before, haven't looked at it, it's got a section A, section B, and a section C.
Hmm.
Section C is a narrative part. A and B are multiple choice or OTQs. And the probably slightly disappointing news is anything can be tested in A and B. So sorry. And actually, the examiner does seem to try and pick out small parts of the syllabus and put them into questions. So question spotting is not an option. But there is one thing where we can be very confident. It is a performance management exam. One of the
Hmm.
two section C questions will be on performance evaluation or a topic around that. So it will either be performance evaluation, divisional performance, transfer pricing, non-profit organizations. So you can guarantee that it's going to come up in one of those topics will come up in one of the two section C questions. The other section C question will not have that in. So there is some division there. So the other section C will have things like budgeting or variances, pricing, things like that. So again, there's some other topics that will be in the other section C. And there are some topics that will not come up in section C at all. Advanced costing, activity-based costing, target life cycle costing, throughput accounting never come up in section C. And what that normally means is you can guarantee a section B question or maybe even two on those topics. That's normally the format of the exam. Section B is where you have five multiple choice questions linked to some narrative.
Hmm.
And so it's on a theme, and there are three of those. So you get 15 questions in total. And then section A can be on anything. And
Yeah.
that's again, you get 15 questions. It can be any part of the syllabus. There'll be some calculations in there. There'll be some um, uh, sort of choosing the definitional type things or
Yeah.
something like that. So yeah, so you do get a mix. So that's the sort of approach.
Mm.
And the one I wanted to, or one area I really wanted to talk about was the mathematical bits behind PM. So anyone that thinks that they've stopped doing maths, I apologize when you come to PM. There are some topic areas that are absolutely embedded in mathematical theory and economic theory. Two examples, optimal pricing, learning curves, and there are a few others. And some people love maths. I love maths. So maybe that's why I like PM so much. I know it's not everyone's cup of tea.
Mm.
And what I try and recommend to people who are studying PM is to not get so stuck in the mathematical world that you forget how it works in the real world. So
Mm.
how do I go about that? So there are some things you need to learn and use equations and graphs and all that horrible stuff that I know people don't like. And what can happen is students get so engrossed in that, they come up with a crazy answer. That if I just said that answer to them, they'd go, well, that doesn't make any sense. And they forget to move out of that mathematical realm
Yeah.
into the real world, the PM world, as I call it. And so I try and say, just be conscious where you are. Am I working in the mathematical world? That's fine, because you need to do that. Now move into the real world, do a sense check on your answer. If you have done a calculation and you recommend that the company sells minus 500 products, you've probably made a mistake somewhere
Mm.
because that doesn't work in the real world, although it can work in the mathematical world. And so that conscious decision or conscious awareness of my real world and my mathematical, I think is a really important thing in terms of those mathematical
Oh,
questions.
100%. I mean, there's so many key points to try and debunk out of that. But if I'm thinking, if I'm going to do that PM exam, working marks, own figure marks, that even if you do make a few mistakes, that's showing your workings. I always say to students, imagine you were marking your own work, and that's going to be super, super key with those mathematical questions that you could be tested on. And the other thing that really, really grinds my gears on these things is when you're doing the answers in the PM exam, you've got to be so careful with units, full stops on there, what format they want you to put the answer in, because some parts are marked by a computer, and if
Mhm.
you've got the wrong number of zeros, and when you're under exam pressures, these things can happen. What are your thoughts on the other aspects of the syllabus and how it's tested and the sort of formatting and the student technique to apply the syllabus?
Yeah, absolutely. It kind of comes back to reading the question and answering the question, doesn't it? Yeah, if they say to two decimal places, do it to two
Hmm.
decimal places. Yeah, absolutely agree with that. Um, I mean, I guess it's tough, isn't it? It's a time pressured exam. Everyone's got different techniques. You can use the highlighting tool. I think that's quite a good thing. Or there's when you're going through the question, particularly the section C questions, use that highlighter, pull out all the important bits. You make sure you're including those in your answer.
Hmm.
Um, in the section A and B, I have quite a strong position on section B and the approach to that. I always recommend that students go through the five requirements before they even read the narrative because there's normally some low-hanging fruit there. There's normally a question, sometimes two, on occasion three, that you can answer without reading the first bit. It's just more of it's normally a simpler question. You get 2 marks in the bag, you get 4 marks in the bag.
Yeah.
That's great. I mean, you're almost there if you've got four in the bag. And also, then when you're reading through the narrative, you've already linking it back to the other parts of the question you're going to ask. I know a lot
Mm.
of people read the narrative first, but it doesn't have any context.
Mm.
So again, I think if you do it that way, read the requirements, read the narrative, answer the ones you don't need the narrative for. Section B, this says, then read the narrative, and then you've got three, maybe four questions where it links to.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. And with your PM students, what sort of question or syllabus areas maybe that do they find the hardest that you maybe get the most amount of queries on?
Variances. It's right up there. Variances is the area where I think most students struggle, or there is most struggle from students. Um, Funnily enough, I think variances at the MA level are harder to get your head around,
Mm.
and then students come into PM almost like, oh, variances, oh, I can't be bothered. I don't want to do them. They're a bit easier at PM, and hint, they're even easier at APM if you go that far. So they do get easier because it's less about the maths and more about the application as you go through those three levels. But there are some specific additional bits you need to learn in PM. So my recommendation is don't assume that you won't be able to understand variances just because you struggled with it at MA. Start again. They're easier. There's less I was say there's less variance in them. That's a odd thing to say. There's less variances in variances. So at PM level, they're much more what's the right word? There's fewer ways it can be tested in
Mm.
terms of maths. And then make sure you understand the narrative because you should be able to answer all of the narrative parts of a variance question, even if you can't do the maths, even if you can't do the calculation, you should still be able to understand how to get the narrative marks.
Yeah, yeah. If you've got a favourable outcome or an adverse
Mhm.
outcome, even if your figure is incorrect, the
Yeah.
marker still has to take it for here's the student's answer, how have they interpreted it, and you're absolutely spot on. This is where students will get their own figure marks, carried forward marks, working marks on there. And whenever I've looked through some PM questions, concentration, I don't know if this is something that you find with your students. You kind of got to go, especially in section A, because they can test anything. It can be one question on variances, then you've got to, right, that question's gone, on to the next one, and it's break even, right, on to the
Mhm.
next one, and it's something else. Do you find that when you're doing like marking student mock papers? Like, what are the common areas of mistakes that students are making?
So overall, I think, I mean, obviously the MCQs are I mean, it varies. I try and do some analysis on whether people are doing better at the calculations or the non-calculation parts of A and B. I haven't picked up any patterns. I mean, I guess data analysis is an important thing, but I can't see any trends there. And maybe that's right. Maybe some people are better at one aspect compared to the other. Um, I think the mistakes come where it's probably the rabbit in the headlight type thing. They get stuck on one part of a question
Hmm.
and then they don't answer any of it. And I always find that really concerning. So they submit a blank answer, or they've started a calculation and the rest is blank. And I go, oh there were so many opportunities to get marks through this question.
Hmm.
Again, this is more section C, I guess, um, that they've missed out on. So like you said, the own figure rule will follow. So if you've got it wrong, don't, it doesn't matter. Just carry on. Go, that's fine. I know I've got it wrong, but that's fine. Just move on. Even put a comment if you want to the marker. I know I've got this wrong. I haven't had time to check it. And then just carry on. It's fine because you'll get those follow through marks.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Some students think they're going to get negatively marked, or
Mm.
what's the marker going to think? They're going to think I'm rubbish on this, and it's just nothing to worry about. Just keep on track and be careful on time because that's another area, as we briefly touched on there. It's all well talking about these syllabuses and the different areas, but then putting it into practice when the questions roll around. That's it when it comes into other things like exam technique. But Richard, are there any other final key points about the syllabus that we've not touched on that could be the difference in getting a student the 50 plus?
I would, you need 50% to pass. It's a big syllabus. You aren't going to know it all.
Hmm.
There's no way you can know it all. And don't get so embedded in one topic area that you sacrifice others. And I mentioned variances earlier, and I think it is a troublemaker because some students spend so long trying to get their head around
Yeah.
variances, they forget the other 95% of the syllabus that will be tested. So make sure you're allocating your time across all of those aspects of the syllabus. And perhaps if you're going through sort of a study phase, accept that you won't know it all. Maybe be happy that I don't fully understand it. Just move on, go through it all because also a lot of the things link back to each other. So you'll increase your knowledge across the syllabus overall and then test yourself. Do some questions, keep doing questions, do mocks, do there's so many resources out there of past questions or example questions. That is where you will start to embed that knowledge. So I actually, yeah, don't question spot, get a really good basic understanding of all the syllabus, and then come back and test yourself. That would be my take home message
Yeah.
on that.
Absolutely spot on. Really good advice there. I mean, I'm marking back to the exams when I used to do them, but for 2 marks in a PM exam, and you go, what was that? But then
Mm.
some students will have a wobble and it'll affect the rest of their exam and could lead to a fail. Whereas you go, I heard it in James's and Richard's video. I expect there to be 4 to 6 marks of just going, what on earth was that? But hey ho, I'll have an educated guess. I'll read the requirements. And if it's a multiple choice, I've got a 1 in 4 chance maybe of getting it right. Would you say that's
Yeah,
pretty fair?
absolutely. There probably is one other thing that is worth mentioning. Um, Depending on when you watch this, it will be worth checking. But the syllabus changes every so often, and I would think that's probably given an idea of what the examiner is thinking about. And unsurprisingly, environmental aspects was a recent change. So I wouldn't be surprised if we get some biggish questions coming up on the environment. Don't just study environmental stuff and EMA. But I would think there's probably going to be a section C question that's going to come up that's quite meaty on it. And also, if you're answering a section C question and there's an environmental twist that you can put into your answer, I reckon you get a mark for that. So yeah,
Ah,
so
yeah.
use those syllabus changes. That's the theme that the examiner's looking at going forward. So
Super stuff, Richard. Well, thank you so much for all those insights. key tips. What I've done, guys, is I've put all of Richard's details below. Feel free to get in touch or leave us a comment if you have any questions from today's video. But any best wishes, best of lucks, final words of wisdom, Richard?
Well, I appreciate your time, James. It's been a pleasure to be here. And yeah, students in ACCA, it's a great exam. It's it's the future you get out of qualifying here is worth the effort and the energy and the struggles and the dedication you'll be putting in now. So good luck. Just keep it going. That letter when you get it or that email when you get it that
Hmm.
you're passed is yeah, it's worth the wait and worth the effort.
Super stuff. Well, thank you so much for watching, guys. We'll put some more videos on the screen now, and we'll see you on the other side for another one. So thank you very much.